Aloha, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening for our Neighbors to Neighbors Forum. This event is slated to get started at 6:30, so please hang tight and we'll just get started in a few minutes. Mahalo. Okay, so it is 6:30, and I do want to be respectful of everybody's time, so we are going to get started. Aloha. Thank you for joining us this evening on our Neighbors Helping Neighbors Forum. My name is Jacob Aki, and I am the Communications Director for the Hawaii State Senate. This evening's event, which was spearheaded by the Office of Senator Bennett Misalucha, in collaboration with the Department of Human Services and the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, seeks to inform and empower advocates, ministry outreach, volunteers, and other folks on what state agency social services are available to help our community members that are in need. These are 3 scheduled forums, and tonight we are going to be focusing on the Department of Human Services. But first, I would like to introduce Senator Misalucha, who represents Senate District 16, and that area covers Aiea, Pearl City, and Halava. So, Senator, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jacob. Aloha and good evening. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. That's actually a quote from the American novelist Mark Twain in the novel Tale of Two Cities. That quote can be applied to what we're going through right now. COVID-19, the pandemic, has brought out the best as well as the worst in humanity. So for those who represent the best in all of us, those who desire to make a difference, we are grateful to all of you for your kind hearts in finding the time, energy, and resources to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, and provide shelter for the houseless. We honor and appreciate all your efforts. But who knew how complicated it would be to actually be of service, to be of help? I heard this message loud and clear from a church friend, Carol Tano, who had to devote a lot of time and energy to research how to assist someone in need. So how can we in government make your burden lighter, even as you offer to serve others? So the premise for this forum is simple. We can make it easier for those who want to help by providing you with the necessary information so you can be effective in advocating on behalf of others in need. So tonight, I would like to personally thank very humbly the Director of Human Services, Kathy Betts, Deputy Director Joseph Campos, and Community and Projects Director Catherine Korinaga, as well as the DHS team for their support in organizing this event. They made our organizing very easy. A big mahalo to also Bernie Kaalim from our office for helping put a lot of the details together. We have this day with DHS, and then later on the 3rd day, we have presentations from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. So service is joy beyond measure. As we go through the various topics, think about how this new knowledge that you acquire tonight can lift others. Imagine how you can touch hearts and minds. Believe that you are giving others hope. Let's make this a great event. Welcome everyone and mahalo for your attendance. So at this time, I'd like to turn the microphone, the platform over to Catherine Korinaga, who will introduce the rest of her team. Catherine?
Aloha and thank you, Senator, for your brilliant light bulb moment. Aloha to all of you who are joining us through this forum. My name is Catherine Korinaga with the Department of Human Services. You are truly the champions, the miracle workers, the healers. Tonight, I have the privilege of introducing the Department of Human Services Director, Kathy Betts, and Deputy Director, Joseph Campos. Just want to say that they are truly human. They express every emotion and are really, really caring people. So if you hear dogs or children or other voices and maybe even the TV at times, um, please forgive us. We're coming from our home to yours. So please use your reaction button on the Zoom and give Director Betts and Deputy Director a warm welcome and a round of applause. Aloha. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And thank you very much, Senator Misalucha, for having us here tonight. It's our great pleasure to be here to present some of our services and benefits to you, but most of all, our humble leaders within our department who work tirelessly day and night to ensure that services are met to our residents in need. So we're really grateful for this opportunity to share some of our knowledge with you, to answer your questions, and to hopefully help prepare you and give you more information about the Department of Human Services and the benefits that we offer so that you're prepared to help your neighbors. So thank you so much. I believe we're going to start our slideshow right now. I have a few slides just to go over an introduction to the Department of Human Services and an overview, and then we're going to have our leaders start explaining some of the services that we offer. So one of, and again, I'm Kathy Betts, and Joseph Campos will also be presenting some of these slides, but I did want to share that we do have a state obligation under Article 9, Section 3 of the Hawaii State Constitution to provide financial assistance, medical assistance, and social services for persons who are found to be in need. We do appreciate the fact that it says persons, it doesn't say citizens, because we do have many services that are offered to non-citizens and mixed citizenship households. And we also offer services to others. So we try to use this obligation very widely, and we take this obligation very seriously, as you'll see with a lot of our leaders on the call tonight when they share their services. Next slide, please. We endeavor at the Department of Human Services to treat everyone with aloha. We want to be able to treat people with dignity and respect, and that is something that is inherent in the work that we do by helping those most in need. Next slide, please. In our legislative session in 2019, we were able to enshrine in our statute, the multi-generational approach to reduce intergenerational poverty. This really is about breaking down silos, breaking down the state kind of mentality of not being able to collaborate. So what we do often within the department, and some of the leaders you'll see from them, they're innovative, they're collaborative, they want to break down silos, they want to help the community. And we've really been able to do that through changing this in statute and really entrenching that behavior and mentality throughout the department over the last 4 years. Next slide, please. This is just a good quote from the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. I think you'll see that in all of our leaders on the call tonight. We attempt to collaborate and innovate at whatever opportunity that we can. And I think one of the most proud things that I am about this department is that we often try to say yes rather than say no. We try to explore opportunities to help before saying no, and that's something that's really amazing about this department. Just a brief overview before I turn it over to Deputy Campos. We now, after the last 2 years of the pandemic, we serve 1 in 3 Hawaii residents. I believe at last week we got recent statistics that 444,000 individuals in the state are covered by Medicaid coverage, which is part of our department. We have a $3.8 billion budget, that's state and federal funds. 84 offices statewide. We're a very large department, 4 divisions, 2 attached agencies, 3 commissions, 6 staff offices, including Governor's Coordinator on Homeless, Scott Morishige, who's on this call tonight, and 2,300 positions. We also have a multi-generational staff and a bilingual staff. So that's something that serves us well, especially during the pandemic. And I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Campos to do the rest of the slides with the overview of DHS. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Betts, and good evening and aloha, everyone. So as Director Betts mentioned, we are a large department. We have the director's office, and part of the director's office, we also have 6 staff offices. And then you'll see in the middle there, in the kind of green through, I'll say what, orangey pink, the 4 main divisions within the department. BESD, which is Benefit Employment and Support Services. MQD, which is MedQuest division, and that handles our Medicaid. DVR, which is Division of Vocational Rehab, and then SSD, which is our Social Services Division. In addition, as Director Betts mentioned, we do work closely with and have as an attached agency the Governor's Commission, or the Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. And we also have the Hawaii Public Housing Authority, the Office of Youth Services, and then the commissions are the Commission on the Status of Women, the Commission on Fatherhood, and the Hawaii Youth Commission. Next slide, please. Okay, so the 4 main divisions, as mentioned, are BESD, MQD, DVR, and SSD. This is just an example of some of the areas that each of the divisions cover. BESD covers financial, SNAP, which is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, low-income home energy assistance, childcare subsidies, childcare licensing, employment training support, and homeless services. Then MQD handles the medical insurance coverage, also known as Medicaid, premium subsidies, long-term care, age, blind, and disabled, health analytics program, which includes all payers claim data warehouse. DVR handles independent living programs, state rehabilitation council, ho'oponopono services for the blind, and employment training. And then SSD, the Social Services Division, covers child welfare services, domestic violence programs, adult protective services, adult foster care program, senior companion program, respite companion program, foster grandparent program, transportation assistance for resident aliens and naturalized citizens, and courtesy services. So as you can see, we do cover a wide range of services that we provide to the people of Hawaii. One thing that I do want to stress, which will be mentioned by our BESD representative, Christine Wong, is the fact that, as you look at helping people in your community that may qualify for the services that we provide, definitely do apply. Do not make your own eligibility determination, because, you might make a mistake in that, and let our people determine your eligibility to make sure that you get the services that you need. Next slide. And so again, this is just sort of a overview about the agency and the Department of Human Services. And again, we have the agency, so Hawaii Public Housing Authority, Office of Youth Services, and under the Office of Youth Services is the Hawaii Youth Correctional Facility, the 3 commissions, and then the Hawaii Interagency Council on Homelessness, that is with the Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. Next slide, please. Again, so I'll turn it back over to Catherine to introduce our representative for the SNAP Financial Assistance Program. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Betts, and thank you, Deputy Director Campos. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Christine Wong. She is the Benefit Employment and Support Services Statewide Branch Administrator. She's going to be talking about SNAP and financial assistance. We've brought our A-team, so listen in as Chris shares. Please go ahead, Chris.
Good evening. My name's Christine Wong. Thank you very much for hosting me today. If you can please go to the next slide. So I'd like to share with you, this is our mission statement. We want to guide individuals and families to resources that improve their well-being, education, and economic security now and in the future. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief picture for you to see what really BESD is. So we are one of the divisions. We have quite a few administrative offices. And then at the bottom, you see is our statewide branch. Next slide, please. We have 20 processing centers that determine financial and SNAP assistance. We have 22 first to work offices that provide work support for TANF. And we have 6 childcare licensing units statewide. Also, just to let you know, so we also currently have our childcare subsidy offices that are contracted. Next slide, please. Who can apply? So we want to share with you, just like Deputy Director Campos said, anyone can apply. An application can be completed online, can be picked up at any of our offices. We can mail it to an applicant or anyone that requests it. And you can also call our public assistance information line if you need help in getting an application. Next slide, please. What is the process? So this is kind of a brief overview. So when someone wants to apply for assistance, what they can do is complete an application for assistance. They would submit the application and any applicable paperwork that they think is necessary, especially identity of the primary individual and possibly any household members. What we do is right now during the pandemic period, we are completing a desk review, which means we don't need to complete an interview to process eligibility. As of June 1st, we will be starting the application and interview process. As of 7/1, we will be resuming all interviews for applications and renewals, just for information. At the point that we're doing the desk review, we will try to determine eligibility. If we're unable to, or if we need more information, we'll definitely send a notice. If you talk to someone and they're trying to clarify information and they're able to ask you for more, they will still send a notice officially to ask for information. Once we receive everything and we're able to make a determination of eligibility, we will then send a notice to the household determining the eligibility, if someone qualified, and the allotment amount or financial assistance amount. We also will issue an EBT card to the primary individual of a household. Next slide, please. So just to let you know, once someone is receiving assistance, we have a recertification process. And we feel this is important to share with all of you because it's not just about getting people on assistance. It's about preventing what we call churn. We don't want them to lose assistance if they continue to be eligible. So once a year, we have an annual renewal process. All households must complete it yearly. We send out a notice to the household notifying them that their renewal process is going to start. And this is the last month before their eligibility expires. We would send out a packet to them. We ask that the packet be completed and resubmitted with any needed verification or documents. We do an interview. Like I said before, right now we do have a waiver from the federal government, so we are not doing interviews for annual renewals until July 1st. And then we send a notice to the household letting them know that we've completed the renewal process and what their situation is as their eligibility. Okay, we also have what's called a periodic recertification. So for some households, halfway through the 1 year cycle, we would then send them out what we call a 6-month report form. It's a shorter version of our renewal process and does not require an interview. Next slide, please. So what is SNAP? Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It provides crucial food and nutritional support for qualifying households, as I'm sure a lot of you know. As of March 2022, there were a total of over 173,000 recipients receiving SNAP benefits. What it does is it encourages promoting health and nutrition with education. And these benefits are provided via EBT card. Next slide, please. What is general assistance? So general assistance is a state-funded program. We want to provide financial assistance for those that are determined temporarily disabled. It gives them a very small benefit every month to provide some cash benefits for basic needs, things like clothing, shelter, sometimes food. As you see, the SNAP is a supplemental assistance. So this is kind of also to be assistance for people who don't have any kind of financial, social security, things like that. Next slide, please. This is our definition of disabled. And the reason that I wanted to share this with you is because MedQuest also has a definition of disabled. Social Security benefits also have a definition of disabled. So each one is a little bit different. And I have to apologize, the Hawaii Administrative Rules is incorrect. So I will share and update that. But for General Assistance Program, it's for anyone who's unable to engage in substantial gainful activity at least 30 hours a week for a period of more than 60 days. It could be physical, mental, or both. And the condition is considered temporary. If somebody can qualify for SSI or Social Security, then that is considered permanent disability. Next slide, please. Aid to the aged, blind, and disabled. This is also part of similar to our general assistance program, but this is for those that are considered permanently disabled. It also provides a safety net assistance for individuals who meet our aged, blind, disability category, and either they don't qualify for federal benefits or they qualify for too little. So some people can qualify for SSI, supplemental security, but they don't qualify for the full amount. So sometimes they can qualify for this AABD program, which will give them a little bit more money. It is also an interim assistance program for those that are waiting to qualify for SSI. We provide, again, cash benefits for essential items. Next slide, please. TANF. So the goal of TANF is to achieve financial self-sufficiency, temporary assistance for needy families, and temporary assistance for other needy families, which is TANF, which is a state-funded version of TANF for those that are mixed citizenship households, are time-limited reform programs for adults with children. General assistance and AABD programs are financial assistance programs for households without children. And it also provides those, this is the work program. We want to be able to help people promote self-sufficiently to gain independence. And there's a maximum of 5 years or 60 months of TANF or TANF benefits in a lifetime. Next slide, please. So this is what qualifies for TANF eligibility. Families must include a dependent child under 18 years old, or they can be 18 and still enrolled in high school. Specified relative, there must be a relationship between the child and the person applying. There are certain citizenship requirements. There's an income threshold. We must complete an intake and orientation program, and there are work program participation requirements. Assets are disregarded for the TANF program. Next slide, please. EBT. So a lot of people think that EBT is a benefit, but actually it's the way we issue the benefit. So the electronic benefit transfer system is what we utilize to issue benefits to people, whether it's general assistance and AABD cash benefits, whether it's SNAP, allotment food stamp benefits, as it used to be called, childcare subsidy benefits, or even support payments from TANF or other work programs. This allows people to access benefits electronically. They can go to ATMs. You can see them go to the supermarket and they swipe a card. And there is also a phone number here, and I provided the website for people who have questions about their EBT card. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to explain, because a lot of people ask about getting a replacement card. So when you get an initial card from us, we will either mail you a card or hand you a card over the counter for your initial card when you first qualify. If for some reason you lose the card, it gets stolen, then we would need to replace it and get a new card. So this is the EBT replacement process. The client or recipient would contact the EBT customer service phone number, or they can go to the website ebtedge.com and request a card electronically or over the phone. The card can take approximately 7 working days to get to the person's household and address. If the card is not received by the 7th working day, then they can contact their nearest processing center, let the person know that they did not receive their card, and then we can issue them a replacement card once we verified that unfortunately they did not receive the card and the card was requested from EBT Edge or over the phone to the customer service. Next slide, please. So I wanted to also share, since a lot of you are very helpful and are providing this wonderful support in the community, this is called a consent to release form. What this is a form that DHS, BESD, we require in order to be able to provide information to someone. So if you are assisting a household, you're not an authorized rep, but you're assisting a household and you want to get information about the household's case, you would need to have the household member, primary individual, to complete this so that you can get information. Otherwise, based on our confidentiality rules, we are unable to tell anyone about someone else's case. Okay, next slide. This is our change report form. This is a form we use when a household needs to report changes. Things like address are very important because we need a good, especially mailing address, in order to be able to send the forms and the notices to a household. If forms are returned or notices are returned without a forwarding address, the case would close. So mailing address is very important. Our mail also does not forward. So it's very important that we have this information. So this is one of the things we really encourage people when they're moving, once they've moved or right before they move, they should report it to us. And this is one of the ways they can report it to us. Notifying the mail, the US Postal Service, filling out one of those cards doesn't notify us. So that's super important. Next slide, please. Okay, so what I'm going to do is also provide you a brief demo of our website. So this is our PIUS application area. So here is where people can apply online. As you can see here, they can renew their benefits, which is their annual renewal process. They can finish an application that they started here by saving it and not submitting it. They can also upload documents and they can view their issued benefits. So let me go through the first process and I'll just show you the beginning part. So here we offer, if people need interpreter services, they can call this number and we can provide them interpreter services. As you can see, it does ask if you, it does state that you must be a resident of the state of Hawaii. You can check which one you want to apply for. If you need an interpreter, if you do need one, then one can be provided for you. Also ask for basic information, what language you speak. And it asks for the first name, last name. And there's a scroll down button I want to share over here. This is very important because there's other information down here that can be provided. Okay. Email is really good, important to provide. Okay. So what you can do is enter it, and then you hit the next button. This will ask for an address. So minimum application requirements are name, home or mailing address, and a signature. There we go. Then it asks you to scroll further. Okay, and there's a mailing address here. I'm not a robot. And next. So this is super important. This is the tracking information, the tracking number. And I tell a lot of people, if you notice, I'm bringing my phone up. What I tell people is if you put an email address in there, it will send this tracking confirmation number to the email address. But if not, take a picture of it, okay? That's important because this number will help you if you need to submit information within 60 days of the application process. This is very helpful, okay? So going through here, now it's asking for other information. If you notice on the left side has all the different areas here and they're all blanked out. But technically the only thing you need to submit, minimum information, is name, address, signature. We prefer that you submit as much as possible when you're assisting someone, because this is the more information we have, the better chance we'll have to make a determination. Okay. So here, if you notice, once I hit the bottom certification, all of these opened up. So technically I can go back to them. Now, also I can save and exit without submitting. So say you didn't finish the application process, you can save it and it'll take you back here. Now I could go in here, I could finish my application by typing in the numbers. Retrieve. It'll ask for my last name and my zip code to confirm I am who I say I am. And here it does. It brings me back to where I am, and I can go into any of these areas and complete this application. So this is really good. If someone needs assistance and you're assisting them maybe by phone and they get stuck, you can always have them save and exit, and then they can either come and see you when you can assist them, or you can go back to it. Yes, Senator.
I have a question about if it's someone who's trying to help, someone in need, do they have to use that person's email? Because what if it's one of those situations where an older person or they're not digitally literate? What are some of the protocols in completing this?
So you can assist someone and use anyone's email address can be utilized. It's just that you will receive the information for this person on that email address, whichever it is. Maybe you want to help someone to get an email address. So it really is up to you. You will not get, we do not send any other documentation via email. So it's only related to this applying for the benefits. It's not ongoing. We don't send any of our documentation right now via email.
Great.
And we don't have a portal like MedQuest. So yes, someone else can use their email address.
Perfect. Thank you for that info.
Sure. One of the other things you can do is you can use Renew My Benefits. As you notice here, for the annual renewal process, it's available from 6:30 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. The reason is this system requests a case number. Now, all household members have a case number. All the notices that they receive, it's in the top right-hand corner of the notice, and it says case number on it. That's very important to have because that will help us to link someone to the case that they are receiving benefits on. So this is available during these times when our system is up so that it can link to it. The other thing people can do is they can upload their documents. Here, they can either use the tracking number, or if they have a case number, they can use that. So I'm going to use my tracking number. Again, it's asking me for my last name and my zip code. And here, it will allow me to enter information. So if you look over here, document upload. So in here, you can actually upload all kinds of documents. You can use almost any type, PDF, JPEG, TIFF, PNG, GIF, so many different types. The file must be 2 megabytes or less, which is rather small, but a lot of people will take a picture of their documents and download it here. So this is a way to upload additional documents, excuse me. That was my email telling me my pious confirmation. So these you can upload documents here, okay? And it does ask me to scroll down. So as you add documents here, it will be able to tell you what you need, okay? And if you notice, this is pretty simple to navigate. So if you need assistance, by all means, it's pretty good though. The last one is view my issued benefits. So this one is for individuals and household members, recipient household members who need to provide proof of receiving benefits through us for other purposes, things like WIC, housing. They can get it here now. So what they need is their first name, last name, date of birth, and the PIN. And so for us, we provide information about the PIN, which is the last 4 of the primary individual social security number, okay? And they can select which one it is they want. I'm not a robot. I certify I'm receiving benefits and continue. And what will happen is it will generate a notice for them and they can print the notice out. So that is very helpful also. Okay, if we can return back to the slide, please. Thanks, Jacob. So again, this is what it looks like. You can select what you'd like to do to assist people. Next slide, please. And here is what it looks like when the email comes to you. It shows that it's from the pious, hawaii.gov, and it shows the code. And this is very helpful again. So we always tell people, if possible, put an email address, but if not, take a picture of it. Next slide, please. Also, just to share with you, these questions in the next 2 slides, these will help for people who need expedited services for financial assistance and SNAP benefits. If someone qualifies for expedited assistance, we will process their case within 7 days. So if they're unable to answer the other questions, if they answer these questions, and next slide, please. And these questions, before they submit the application, this helps us greatly to determine that whether or not they need expedited services. Next slide. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope I can assist in any way. Thank you so much.
I have a question, Christine.
Sure.
Okay, so since DHS will be processing it for 7 days, in the interim, do we direct them to other social agencies or nonprofits?
Yes. So good question, Senator. So for expedited services, we will process within 7 days. For non-expedited services, we can take up to 30 days. Right now, we're taking about 2.5 weeks. We do have quite a lot of people applying, but we take about 2.5 weeks right now for processing. There are different food banks. We refer people to 211 to get other services. And we do have a list of different services that are available, and we can share that also with you, Senator.
Sorry, I want to make sure that I know Jacob was able to send a copy of the slide deck to everyone, but if you don't have one or you would like to avail of a copy, please reach out to our office and we'd be happy to email it to you. Thanks to DHS.
Thank you, Senator, for your questions. And thank you so much, Chris, for sharing all about SNAP and financial assistance. So we will be having a Q&A after this, the second part of the presentation today. So you save your questions. Now I'd like to introduce Scott Morishige. He's a governor's coordinator on homelessness, and Emma Grahusky, the community development specialist. They've done a fantastic job, even pre-pandemic, of bringing the community together. So they've been folks that are have their boots on the ground, the streets, all the way up to policy level, forming partnerships at all levels of government, as well as with our community-based organizations and nonprofits. So please go ahead, Scott.
No, thank you, Catherine. So good evening, everyone. Again, just to briefly introduce myself, again, my name is Scott Morishige, and two things I just want to share about myself. One, I'm born and raised in the Aiea Pro City community, so I'm very close to this particular neighborhood. And second is although I work in government, I'm really a social worker at heart, and I have my master's in social work from UH Manoa. And what I plan to share with you a little bit about tonight is just briefly about my office, a little bit about just a broad overview of homelessness, how you can assist people experiencing homelessness if you see someone in need in the community. And also I'll turn it over to Emma later on to share a little bit about newer rental, utility assistance, and mortgage assistance programs that have become available to really help people impacted by the pandemic. So next slide, please. So I wanted to start just with a brief overview of my office. So my office is really a unique role in state government where we're not a direct service provider and we play a variety of different functions. So you can see in the left-hand column, a big focus of my office's role is policy. So I work to advise the governor and the cabinet on all issues related to homelessness and how we can really work to reduce homelessness in our community. That includes developing the state's framework to address homelessness, advocating for priorities of the state legislature, such as increased funding for affordable housing, expansion of core programs for homeless services, really addressing barriers to housing, such as housing voucher discrimination and other issues. And also I chair the Hawaii Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is a 27-member advisory board that consists of state agencies, county agencies, and homeless service providers. In addition to that, a big part of what M&I do on a daily basis is we really coordinate efforts. So both within state government, so we work within DHS with staff like Chris, who just presented earlier, and other DHS leaders, as well as with other departments, such as Department of Health, Department of Transportation, Department of Land and Natural Resources, Education, and so on. I also coordinate with the 4 counties. So each county has a counterpart for myself that is a homeless coordinator for their area, and we meet monthly to make sure that we coordinate and align efforts, and also work with federal partners, such as the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, and the private sector, because really no one entity or agency can do this alone. It really takes a coordinated kako effort where everybody works hand in hand, working together to really take on this very complicated issue. And then finally, role of my office is also to really look at innovation. How can the state look at addressing the issue of homelessness differently? And there's a few good examples of that. One is the Ohana Zones program, which I'll speak a little bit more about later. And second is the Kauhale initiative. Some of you may have heard about the Kauhale project that our Lieutenant Governor Josh Green is working on. And recently we completed the first Kauhale up in Kalailoa and Barbers Point that consists of 37 units of 37 tiny home units, which really provide permanent housing for single adults coming out of homelessness. And then finally, we work with technical assistance providers from our federal agencies that really help us think through how can we utilize federal resources in different ways. So for example, one way that my office works with DHS to innovate is we work with our Medicaid program to use federal Medicaid funding to pay for the issues related to housing for people experiencing homelessness, because we know that there's such a close intersection between housing and healthcare. When you put a roof over somebody's head, it really improves their health outcomes over time. Next slide, please. So I want to share briefly about the state's overarching framework to address homelessness. It's very simple and it has 3 main focuses. One, we really believe in a housing focused system where housing is our end goal. And to meet that end goal, we need to really invest in affordable housing, scaling up the development of rental units so that local people can afford to have a place where they can put a roof over their head. We also are working to maximize the use of rental subsidies and vouchers available to better utilize our existing housing inventory. We're also working to reduce barriers that people face that may prevent them from getting into rental housing, such as taking on policy issues related to, let's say, the regulation of application screening fees for rentals and similar types of issues. The second pillar of our state framework is health and human services, because it's not enough just to provide a home. We know that many of the individuals experiencing homelessness have many other needs, whether they're medical needs, behavioral health needs, dealing with addiction, and so on. So we really need to work with both DHS and Department of Health to layer over supportive services that will make sure that we not only get someone into a home, but they're able to remain there. We also believe not just in providing services, but making sure that we do so in a way where we demonstrate accountability for our oversight of public funding. So for example, I've been in this job since fall of 2015. The first thing I did was really work with our DHS Homeless Programs Office that oversees contracts, and we worked to implement performance measures for our contracts. So in February of 2017, we launched new contracts that really held our providers accountable to 3 main things. One, making sure that we focus on placements into permanent housing. Second, that we reduce the length of stay in homeless programs. And third, that we focus on housing retention. And since our focus on those performance metrics and really implementing new contracts, we started to tie funding to the ability of providers to meet those goals, we actually saw an increase in permanent housing placement statewide. Prior to these contracts being implemented, only about 1/3 of people moving through our homeless system went into permanent housing. Now it's over 50% of those who exit. So it shows just the impact that really setting clear metrics and guidelines for our providers has had on our outcomes. And then the third pillar of our state framework is public safety. So we know that although it's a very difficult thing to acknowledge, we have so many people who are unsheltered in our community who are living on public lands, whether it's city or state property in areas that are really not safe for people to live, such as on the side of the freeway, under bridges, just areas that really are not safe in many cases. So we need to address public safety for those individuals, as well as potentially for others if they're in areas where they may impact potentially other people. So for example, of what I mean by public safety is when I first started, we had encampments that were literally above the H1 freeway in town. And one day when I went out with an outreach worker to outreach the encampment, I saw a couple get into a fight and they tumbled down the side of the median. And if they had tumbled into traffic, that would be a very unfortunate situation, not only for them, but for many others. It would have a much larger impact. And we, as government, need to address these encampments that are in unsafe areas so we can keep the people safe and we can keep the community safe. So I've worked with our state land management agencies, with Department of Transportation, and also our law enforcement agencies to make sure that when we address these encampments, we're doing so in a way where we also offer services and access to housing for these individuals. So we're not just pushing them from one place to another. We're trying to build a relationship with the person and really assess their needs so we can provide the right type of services to ultimately get them into housing, because that's the overarching goal of our state's framework to address this issue. Next slide, please. So just really briefly, when people talk about homeless services, you may wonder what that is. And we have three main buckets of what we believe falls into this category. The first bucket of homeless services is outreach. So if you've ever heard someone talk about an outreach worker, what that is we have organizations across the state that DHS contracts that will go into encampments, go out into the community to meet homeless people where they're at. And their main goal is really to build a relationship, get to know who the person is, and then work with them to figure out what's the best pathway to get them into permanent housing. And that includes everything from helping people with their vital documents. Many people may not have ID or birth certificate, so trying to connect them to those systems. Working with staff in Chris Wong's section, trying to get them connected to public benefits, and ultimately trying to figure out how they can connect people to shelter and ultimately into housing. So our next bucket of services is emergency and transitional shelter. And shelter is not a permanent place to stay. It's a temporary living space where people experiencing homelessness can become more stable, and they can really have time to work with a service provider, work with a case manager, again, follow up on all the things that may have started in outreach. And then finally, our last bucket of service is permanent housing. So we provide a continuum of different rental assistance programs, ranging from very short term, from what we call rapid rehousing, which is typically 3 to 4 months of assistance, sometimes a little bit longer, to what we call permanent supportive housing, which is really intended for those homeless individuals who've been homeless the longest, who have very acute needs. And we provide, through permanent supportive housing, longer term housing subsidies that are paired with intensive case management and wraparound supports. So that's just a broad overview of the types of services offered. Now, if you encounter someone experiencing homelessness and you want to know how do you get in touch with an outreach provider, or how can you refer them to a shelter, my office has a phone number that you can call for help. That's 808-586-0193, or you can also email us at govgov.homelessness@hawaii.gov. And at the end of this presentation, we'll have our contact information shared. You can also go to our website, homelessness.hawaii.gov. We have information where you can look up who is the outreach provider for your area of the island, and then also who, what are some of the emergency shelters available, and do they have vacancy for that day. Next slide, please. So I mentioned my office also works to innovate, and I mentioned the Ohana Zones program as an example of that. So what the Ohana Zones pilot program is, it's something that the state legislature appropriated funding to really help accelerate efforts to end homelessness statewide. So in 2018, the legislature provided a one-time appropriation of $30 million. And the initial intent was for this to support just 6 projects, 3 on Oahu and 1 each in the neighbor island counties. My office worked together with the governor, with the rest of the administration, and we actually came up with a plan to maximize the amount of funding and make sure that we could have the biggest bang for our buck. So instead of just 6 projects, we actually implemented 20 different projects across the islands, including several here on the island of Oahu. And the pictures on the screen are 3 projects I really wanted to highlight. The first is a subsidized rental housing unit, a rental housing program for seniors over the age of 55 that's in town. It's located in the Makiki or Wai'ilili area. And this apartment building on Young Street, Kumuvai, there's 20 subsidized units that are available. It's really for very vulnerable seniors transitioning from homelessness. And through this program, we've actually been able to help people that we've encountered on state land and encampments who've been homeless for 15, 20 years, really provide them a permanent place to live. The second picture right below that is of the Kahala project out at Barbers Point that the Lieutenant Governor really has taken leadership on. And again, this is 37 units, tiny homes, not very large units, they're about 100 square feet, but they provide an affordable permanent place for people coming out of homelessness to live. And the rents are only $500 a month. And if you're not able to afford that, the units come with a subsidy to help you kind of get back on your feet until you're able to earn enough money to cover that going forward $500 a month rent. And then finally, the last picture there is of our HONU program. And HONU stands for Homeless Outreach Navigation for the Unsheltered. And it's a program that the state of Hawaii does in partnership with the city and county of Honolulu. And our Honolulu Police Department actually administers this program. There's 2 sites, one at Waipahu Cultural Garden near Plantation Village, and the second at Old Stadium Park. And this provides really low barrier emergency shelter for people who don't have any other place to go, and it's accessible 24/7. Next slide, please. And then I just wanted to go over just some brief information. I'll move pretty quickly about what homelessness looks like in the Aiea Pro City Eba area. So when we look at gathering data for homelessness across the island of Oahu, we break Oahu down into 7 regions. So Pro City actually sits in region 3. And this is just a quick overview of what the homeless population looked like in 2020 in this region. Our point in time count for 2022, they're still crunching the numbers, and I believe that the organization that conducts the count is going to release that data sometime in mid-May, but this is the last numbers we have available. And what you can see is our population in this region represents about 10% of the overall population on the island of Oahu that are unsheltered. It's primarily adults, not very many families with young children. The average age of a homeless individual in this area is 49. And when you look at the primary reason people said that they fell into homelessness in this area is really due to family conflict. Having an argument with friends or family that resulted in the person having to leave the home. One of the things I like to share about the issue of homelessness for people seeking to better understand it is it's really an issue about people. And you often think homelessness is something that happens to other people. It can't happen to people like me. And that's simply not true. Homelessness can happen to anybody, but for circumstance. And I think if you look at the reason why people say they ended up experiencing homelessness, it's not always because of loss of income or something like that. Sometimes it's something as simple as you have intense family conflict that just cannot be repaired. Next slide, please. And then this is just to give you, again, another overview of what homelessness looks like in this area. And unfortunately, in this specific area in Region 3, the Aiea Pro City Eva area, homelessness has been increasing, as you can see by the yellow line, between 2015 to 2020. But again, it's primarily single adults or adult-only households in this area, and very few people and families, which is the orange bar. So it's primarily mainly adults. Next slide.
Scott, quick one.
Oh,
This is
yes.
Senator, yeah. I wanted to check with you as far as the data. So is that the last time we had a moment in time count? Did we do one in 2021?
So we did not do an unsheltered count in 2021, primarily due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I think the count is conducted by an organization called Partners in Care, which is a coalition of homeless service providers on Oahu. And in 2021, they were given the option of actually canceling the count due to safety, health and safety reasons. And they decided to do so because at that time, numbers were really surging. And I think access to the vaccines were not as prevalent at that time. So they did do a count this current year, though, in the middle of March. And like I said, that updated data should be available sometime in mid-May.
Okay, it'll be interesting to find out whether the pandemic has made an impact on the numbers.
You know, one of the things I really want to give credit to our providers for is I think that they've really been on the front lines and continuing to deliver services despite everything going on. So our outreach providers continue to go out every day. The shelter workers continue to show up to work every day. And we actually were able to continue placing people into permanent housing at pretty steady rates. So hopefully the increase in homelessness will be very slight, or the numbers will remain relatively level. But we'll see in about a month or so. So I really wanted to kind of wrap up my portion of this presentation just by focusing on how to offer help to people experiencing homelessness if you see someone in need in the community. And I can put in the chat a link to this flyer developed by our counterparts at the city and county, just kind of show how we work hand in hand together. But it really shows 10 simple ways that anyone in the community can help somebody experiencing homelessness. The main thing to keep in mind if you're offering help is it's a good thing to offer help, but you want to make sure that you're not pressuring someone to accept shelter services, because not everybody may want that, or it might not be the best fit for the person. So you want to make sure you provide an offer, but really be careful not trying to pressure the person to accept services that they may not want. Offering help for someone experiencing homelessness is actually, there's many different options to help, because there's a lot of opportunities to either volunteer or donate your time or resources. We have a number of good organizations across the island that either provide shelter services or some of the other services I mentioned. And also, if you happen to be a landlord where you have a unit to rent, or a connection to a landlord, there are so many people in our community right now that are in need of looking for an affordable place to live, that even just opening up your home potentially to someone who's being referred by one of these programs may be another way to help. And then finally, I think what I tell everybody is one of the best ways to help is to do what all of you are doing tonight, and just by becoming informed, better understanding the issue, and then working to educate other people about the issue of homelessness and its different complexities, because there's so many myths and misunderstandings about homelessness. I think just being educated and aware is a big way that people can give back. So I wanted to allow time for my coworker Emma to really talk about some of the newer programs coming up in the community, not necessarily impacting people who are homeless, but those who are potentially at risk of homelessness due to the economic impacts of the pandemic that we recently experienced. So Emma, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Emma Grahusky. I'm the Homelessness Community Development Specialist in Scott's office. And when we saw that the theme was neighbors helping neighbors, it really inspired us to want to also share some of these other resources, because, as Scott mentioned, we have, several thousand people on any given night who are currently experiencing unsheltered or sheltered homelessness. But there are so many more households who are on the brink of homelessness, who are living paycheck to paycheck, or who might have some adverse experience that could really put them in a financial situation that could lead them to losing their housing. And this is where So many people in the community might know someone in this situation. You might have been in this situation yourselves at some point in time. So if we could go to the next slide. So many of you may have seen some of these resources, but we want to make sure that everybody knows about these programs that are available. The first is for people who are renters. We have on Oahu, the Rent and Utility Relief Program. This is the website. It's oneoahu.org/renthelp. And this is the federal rental and utility assistance program that can help people who had financial impact during the pandemic with back rent that they owe, and even rent going forward up to a total of now 18 months. And I want to talk a little bit about this because there have been some changes to this program to expand who's eligible for it. And so sometimes what we hear from people is that maybe they tried the first time or they read the qualifications, but they don't think it applies to them, so they don't apply, or they think that all the money is gone, and it's not. And so this program is still available and can help people who have that financial impact during COVID. So far, they've distributed over $150 million. So we want to make sure everybody knows about this program. And the second one on the screen is the Oahu Homeowner Assistance Fund. This is a slightly newer program, and it's meant to help homeowners with mortgage arrears, their utilities, and some other homeownership related expenses like HOA fees. And this one is a bit newer. And so the website is here, it's hawaiiancouncil.org/Oahu Home. And you want to keep checking this website because as they get a surge of applications, they'll close the application period for a time and then they'll reopen it. So if you know anybody who has had a financial impact and is behind on their mortgage or other household expenses and they're a homeowner, this is the program that you want to direct them to. If we can go to the next slide. And so really, we're talking about homelessness prevention. So trying to catch people before their situation, becomes such that they are at risk of losing their housing. And so there are four main topics that we want to talk about. We're really talking about early intervention, trying to destigmatize the feeling of needing or asking for help, following up, and then looking at additional resources, maybe beyond what you think is available. Next slide. So the first, early intervention is really so important that if we can identify the signs that someone we know that may need help, we can really make a difference early on. And that could be the determining factor between that person staying housed and having them lose housing. And since we have a little bit of time, I want to share this story. The quote that appears right beneath it, this person, was saying that they didn't know what to do when they overdrafted their bank account during the pandemic. And it was like that for months and months. And for those who've ever had this happen to them, you know how overdraft fees work. They just compound and they add up and they add up. And it's, every day that your account is in overdraft, it just piles up. And so for this person, they hardly had any money left. And their Social Security direct deposit was getting eaten up by the overdraft. And pretty soon they couldn't pay rent, they couldn't pay other expenses. And this story was, this wasn't being told to a family member or, to a program. That this story was being told to me and a homeless outreach worker. So this person became homeless. This person was 83 years old and is now in one of our homeless shelter programs. And so myself and the outreach worker were the first people to really know what happened. And so if someone had been able to know that maybe their neighbor or their auntie was having this financial trouble, that early on there are things that maybe could have been done to prevent this outcome from happening. And so this one was really tough. So I want to share that because this could really happen to anybody that we know. And as we all know, having more time to apply for resources or to get help from other people will usually lead to better outcomes. And so a lot of people are, they wait until the last minute before they start calling around for resources. And, they may not realize that applying for some of these programs sooner, could really help them avoid some of the really bad outcomes like an eviction. And so if you know anybody that might be struggling, encourage them that the sooner they reach out or start seeking resources, oftentimes the better it's going to be. Next slide. And we talk a lot about, it can feel embarrassing or shameful to, to ask others or, let them know that you might need help, or even to apply for some of the programs that Chris shared about earlier, like SNAP or financial assistance or Medicaid, that will be on another presentation. But we want to try to, take away from some of that, because if people need the help, these programs are safety net programs are there to provide that service until maybe they're back on their feet and they don't need it anymore. And so it's important that we all try to create a judgment-free space for our family and friends to talk about these needs and maybe share resources. In this example, this person, fell behind on rent because they had lost some work hours due to they actually had COVID. And so they were out of work for a couple of months, exhausted their vacation hours and were unpaid. And they actually didn't know that there was a program, called the Rent and Utility Relief Program. And only because they felt comfortable enough asking their neighbor, who then asked her coworkers, who were able to share information about this program, this one has a better outcome. This person was able to get their rental arrears paid. And not only that, but they're able to get help for some months going forward so that they're able to build back up their savings. And so they're staying housed. So it's really important that people can feel comfortable, especially with those that they know and that they love, to talk about what might be going on, because there may be resources that you know of that they may not realize are out there. Next slide. And being persistent and following up, is another really important thing. Don't be afraid to follow up with the program. Double check and make sure if you got an email or voicemail back, if you don't hear back right away. If there's an application window for something, have people apply early and check back often. And for some of those programs that I mentioned earlier, especially the mortgage one, keep checking back to see when it reopens, because you never know. And so we don't want to have someone just look at something once and think that they're not going to be eligible and not qualify for it. And the second thing is that it's really important that these programs have a way to get in touch with you. Chris talked about this too for our DHS programs, that it's really important that we have a mailing address that's current. And for some of these other programs, they're trying to get as direct communication as possible. So if people don't have stable access to a phone or email, or they think they might be moving around a lot, what they might want to do is consider asking someone they trust if they could be a second point of contact. Because one of the biggest problems for the rental assistance program is actually that they have a hard time following up with the applicants. And it takes a lot of time away from reviewing the new applications when you're calling and trying to follow up with the household multiple times to see if they even still need the assistance. Is it a duplicate application, or has the situation changed? So it's really important that, that we have some way of getting in touch with people who are seeking these programs. Next slide. And then finally, looking for additional resources. We shared some resources for rental assistance, but there are other things that can help to improve a household situation. So there are programs, if you look at the SNAP program, what it can do, even though it doesn't provide cash, it can provide benefits that can be used to maybe reduce the amount that you're spending on food. And so with that, you can save a little bit more. And so we want to encourage people to use 211 as a good first step, especially if they're not sure what resources might be out there and who they should call. So they can dial 211 from any local number, or they can visit auw211.org and they can search online, or they can even do the online chat within business hours. And in addition to the financial assistance, if people are having a housing issue, it's really, really important that they seek legal advice and take advantage of mediation that's offered. And this is something that mediation is available all the time, but right now there are additional protections, and this is because of our legislators last year that passed Act 57. And so Act 57 did a number of things, but one of the main things that it did for the period of 1 year after the ending of the eviction moratorium on August 6th of 2021 is that it requires mediation services for people who are being served an eviction notice. and it provides it free of charge. So neither the landlord nor the tenant has to pay for this service. And mediation, it's different than going to court. It's about trying to come to an agreement that benefits both parties and trying to stay out of the legal process. And in many cases, in fact, for Oahu Mediation Center of the Pacific, reports that around 90% of the mediations that they do result in positive outcomes. In some cases, landlords and tenants agree that they're not going to move forward with the legal process. They come to other stipulations or payment plans or other kinds of things. So it can really save people from being evicted. It can save a lengthy court process. And a lot of people may not know that this resource is available, or they may think that it's not going to be able to help them, and so they don't respond. And so if you know anybody that is in the process of being evicted or thinks that they might be evicted, encourage them to seek these resources. Renters are entitled to certain rights under the landlord-tenant code, and especially right now when we have these additional protections. So it's really important that people try to access these resources because there may be options that they don't know about. And so I think we're to the end. If we go to the next slide, I'll just recap our office contact information. As Scott mentioned, we have several different ways to contact us. I want to let everybody know that our website at homelessness.hawaii.gov really has a lot of different types of resources available. In addition to just basic information, we have a lot of videos, we have infographics, we have dashboards of things. And so we have all kinds of different information if you're looking for more data, or if you're just looking at who the providers are for the area that you're in, or what shelters are there. We have all of that on our website and more. We have our office line during business hours that if you have a question or you want to give information so that someone can follow up on somebody who might be experiencing homelessness, that you can call. And finally, we have our email, gov.homelessness@hawaii.gov. So I'll turn it back over to Catherine. Thank you very much for having us present this evening.
Mahalo to you, Emma, and to Scott. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jacob to help us, and he's going to explain how we're going to be handling the Q&A. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, guys. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna break out into two different breakout rooms. One breakout room is gonna focus on the first half of the presentation, which was kind of focused on the SNAP benefits. And then the second part of the second breakout room is also gonna focus on homelessness. So we do have allocated about 20 minutes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open the breakout rooms. You'll have the opportunity to go into the breakout room that you want to go to. We'll go there for about 10 minutes. I'll bring you guys back into this main room. And then for the last 10 minutes, you'll go into the opposite room. So we want to make sure you have the opportunity to engage directly with our presenters on any specific questions that you have, or if there's a particular area of the presentation that you want them to dive deeper into. So we'll be launching the breakout rooms, and we ask that you choose the breakout room that you want to go to first. But before we do that, Senator, I see that you have your hand raised. Did you want to make a quick comment?
No, that
Oh,
was from before.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry
So,
about that.
No worries. So let me open the breakout rooms. Did the option pop up for you folks?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so for we're gonna go into the breakout rooms, and we ask that our presenters go into your respective topic area room. So, and then at about 8 o'clock, we'll switch rooms. So have fun, guys. See you in a bit.
Jacob, I don't see the breakout room on my computer. I'm Joanne Mahuka.
Okay, which one did you want to go to? I can.
Doesn't either one. Doesn't matter.
Okay, gonna send you there now.
Okay, thank you.
And then if anyone else is having a difficult time, please let me know, and then I can prompt you to go into a particular room. Hi, Joanne. You should be able to, something should have popped up on your screen that prompts you to click and then you'll be able to go into the room. Okay, I think she's there.
Our government. And our goal as far as the church is to get them off the street, back into their homes, and getting them to the system and being a great resource and working with the government. And this has been working one by one, one life at a time. So thank
food to eat. And that is the purpose of this program. So we really encourage people to apply. I think more kupuna would qualify if they applied, because even though they have Social Security benefits, they have expenses, medical expenses, they have rent, utilities, things like that. So that's something definitely that I want to encourage. Now, for those that don't get Social Security or a lot of Social Security, we have our financial assistance programs. We have 3 programs: general assistance, which is for temporarily disabled individuals. We have our AABD program, which is for permanently disabled individuals who don't receive any kind of Social Security or SSI due to disability, aged or blindness, or who don't receive that much. Because as we know, not all aged, blind, and disabled individuals receive this, what people think is this great amount of Social Security benefits. Some of them receive like $500 a month. That's not a living wage for someone who's living on a fixed income. So they could qualify for this little bit of supplemental disability or aged or blind income. Okay, we also have our TANF program or TANF program. And this is for families with children who can qualify for assistance. And this is also a support program. It is time limited for certain individuals. We also have our childcare subsidy program. So
Okay, looks like folks are making their way back.
It was good discussion on our side.
Yes, I know. I was going back and forth, and I got caught up in one of the discussions. Like, oh shucks, look at the time. So
I know it was a good discussion on the homeless. So I'm curious
Okay.
about the side. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so folks, just recap. We're gonna go back in, open up the rooms. Please go into the room that you didn't go to the first time. We'll go to about, looking at the clock now, we'll go about to 8:13, and then we'll come back into this main room for some closing words. So let me open up the room again. Oh, Kalamai, I'm gonna have to recreate the rooms. Hold on. Oh, it should be open. Senator, was there an option that opened on your end? Okay, sorry guys, hold on. We're just gonna. Okay, Kalamai, it's something, gonna have to recreate the rooms. Hold on. Okay, sorry guys. We have to, I pressed the wrong button. So let me recreate the rooms again, and then we should be able to go back in. So. Okay, there we go. You folks should have the option now.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So sorry, we'll go to 8:15. So I'll bring you guys back in around then. Thanks.
Okay, Jacob, again, I have no option showing.
Okay, Joanne, you're gonna go to Snap?
I
Or
think,
is it-
huh?
Which was the first room you went to?
I think it was in Snap first.
Okay, I'll send you to homelessness.
Thank you.
And if anyone else is having issues, please let me know.
Jacob, could you send me to Snap? It's Amanda.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you.
Jacob, send me to homelessness. Louis.
Okay. Homelessness. Okay, Louis, sending you to homelessness now.
Yep.
Verna needs to go to homelessness.
Okay, there you go. Okay, I think folks are starting to make their way back into the main room. Yeah, looks like everybody's back. Okay. Hope you folks had a good conversation in both rooms. So really the purpose was to give you guys a opportunity to connect with our presenters. But we are nearing the end of our event tonight. So thank you to each and every one of you for attending tonight's Neighbors Helping Neighbors Forum. We do hope that we see you again at the next Neighbors Helping Neighbors Forum, which will be taking place next Wednesday, April 27th at 6:30 p.m. With DHS topics on MedQuest, childcare subsidies, and childcare licensing. Also on May 4th at the same time at 6:30 p.m., there will be a Department of Labor and Industrial Relations presentations on unemployment insurance benefits, career assistance, grants and aid, as well as anti-discrimination laws. So thank you again for spending your evening with us. This meeting was recorded, so we will make sure that you get a link to watch this meeting if you want to view it. We'll also make sure that you get a copy of the presentation. So without further ado, thank you all again for spending your evening, and we hope to see you over the next 2 weeks. Take care. Aloha, everybody.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.